All right, what's going on, guys? Today I just want to make a video showing you some tips and tricks with the LFO section here in Serum 2. I've got this basic patch pulled up here, just a bit of reverb, saw wave, and a filter. And I'll start to bring in these LFOs and show you these techniques as we go. All right, so the first thing I wanted to show you is that you can take any wavetable shape and bring it into the LFO. So let's go with something that's got a bit more shape to it. Maybe this will do. So come down here, whichever LFO you want to add it to, click the drop down and then just select, this is oscillate A, so we're going to go wavetable A to LFO. So now it's brought this shape in. Let me assign this to the cutoff. It's probably the best example. And slow it down. And you can come in and edit it as well from here, so you can take out all these breakpoints if you want, make it a bit smoother. So now we've just generated a really nice sort of evolving shape really easily just from the wavetable. And then there's so many wavetables here, like you can generate pretty much endless shapes. But if you still want more, you can also generate a random one. So if you click the drop down here, we can generate a random shape as well. Oops, change that. And let's say you want more of like a sequencer stepped fashion. You can generate a random one that's the shape's going to be all flat. Ooh. And then the last thing you can do, you can actually go in reverse. You can take an LFO shape to a wavetable. So we could, let's just turn this one off. Over here, if you click and drag and hold Alt and drag it up here to the wavetable, now we've just brought that shape over there. Now we've got a wavetable out of it. Oh! Oops, put this through B. Beautiful. All right, so the next thing I want to go over is the LFO tools here and the editor. So let's just assign this LFO to the cutoff for this example. So with your standard point here, you can just create obviously any random shape just by clicking and moving things around like this. The second one here is good for sequences, so you can just get a nice quick shape like this without having to click all the individual points in manually. The next shape gives you the same sort of thing. It's like a sequencer sort of shape, but it's ramped up. So it looks like this. Maybe I'll do like a swell up and then down. And let's make it slower. And then the other shape is just a ramp down, so just the opposite. So it's going to be more like a pluck. Ooh. So the next thing you can do, if you jump into the editor, obviously it's good because you can bring up a bigger window, so it allows you to kind of fine tune a little bit easier. You can take a combination of the sequencer and then come down here to the grid and change the grid size. If we change it to be 12, and maybe we'll just keep that on 8. Now we can assign this to, let's go to the fine over here. Not the fine, sorry. We want to go to the semi. And we're just going to set it all the way up 1 octave. So now because there's 12 notes in the chromatic scale, each one of these points here is a different note of the chromatic scale. So now we have the option of creating our own custom arpeggios. So if I jump back in here to the editor, let's say I want to make a minor 7th arpeggio. We can start with the root note, go up 3 semitones. So each one of these is a semitone. Then we'll go up 7, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then we'll go up 10 and then back to the octave. We can bring it back down again. And maybe what we want to do, let's take this one off. Let's take that off the pitch, the cut off, and we'll copy this shape over. And maybe what we can do here is set this one to a ramp down. And just do like this sort of shape that we had before. Something like this. And we'll put that on the cutoff. So now it's gonna open the filter and it's gonna play up in a minor 7th arpeggio. Which is pretty wild. Let's say you want to do a major 7th, you can bump, let me just put this back on the straight line. You can bump this one up to there. That's the major 7. This is a major 3rd now. They got that Stranger Things vibe. Woo, beautiful. Right, what I want to show you next is the rise, delay, smooth, phase, and swing controls. They're great for adding a lot of character to the LFO really fast. So maybe we'll assign the LFO to the cutoff for this one again. So what you can do here, from the last tip, these controls on the side, these tools, if you right click, you can assign any one of these 3 to be performed when you hold the shift key. So you don't have to go back and forward over here. So normally it's on flat. Let's just set it to ramp down, hold shift, and then we'll create maybe like a stepped pluck sort of shape like this. So if you right click the rate control and select swing, down here, if you start to bring this up, we can start to add some swing to the shape. So essentially every second note is just going to be pushed back a little bit in time, depending on how high we set this percentage. So let's start that off and I'll start to bring it in so you can hear what it's doing. So you can hear that's a nice way to add a bit of groove to your sound without having to manually move it. Just one control, nice and easy down here. Let's reset that and maybe I'll hold shift again and let's set like a ramp up and down sort of shape. Ooh. Something like this. There we go. Okay, so now let's say you're making a pad sound and you want to control the tail of the sound. You want to give it movement over time. One thing you can do is use the delay control here to delay when this actual LFO is engaged. So let's say I want, when I play a chord, I want it to ring out for a bar, and then I want this LFO to engage and give the tail movement. So if I set this delay up to a bar, what's going to happen is it's going to play for a bar, and then it's going to come in. Is that a bar? Seems too quick. There we go. But you notice the very start of the sound, it's very boring. So what we can do, we can go to another LFO and assign this one to the filter. And we'll set that to envelope. We'll have it ramp up and we'll make it last a bar. So now when I play a chord, this LFO is going to set the filter to open for a bar. And then once that bar's complete, this shape's going to take over. Which is a really nice way to add a bit of movement to your sound. So you might notice, especially if, actually I'll leave it where it is. You might notice that once this first bar completes and it goes to the second one, it can be quite abrupt. So what you can do is you can actually set some attack to this LFO shape as it engages. So it's going to ease in. So if we bring this up, let's do maybe 4 bars. So it's a bit more pronounced. You can hear it slowly swelling in. So the rise control is really good for that. The next thing is the smooth control. Let's say because you've got sort of like a pluck shape pattern going on here. Maybe it's a bit too jagged for your liking. If you use the smooth control, instead of having to come in here and move all these points and make it a bit smoother manually, you can just turn this smooth control up, and as you get to a higher value, you'll see these lines start to show up, which is showing you what it's doing to the shape. So now if we play something, you can hear now you've got a really nice subtle shape to the tail end of that pad. And the phase control here, that just sets where it starts. So if you wanted it to start up high, without having to change the whole shape back and forward manually here, you can just set it with the phase control, which is really nice and handy as well. Ooh. All right, the next thing I want to talk to you about is the direction of the LFO. You can set it to run in a forwards direction, reverse, or back and forward with the ping pong, which is a really nice feature as well. So maybe what I'll do is let's make this a bit faster so it doesn't take so long to come in. Delay half a bar, rise half a bar. Maybe I'll bring the smooth down a little bit more. Yeah, there we go. So maybe we just want it to swell up rather than being more of a pluck shape. So we sit reverse. Which is a really nice feature. And then if we select ping pong, we're going to get a combination of both. All right, the last thing I want to talk to you about is a couple of shortcuts down here, which I feel aren't as well known, but are really useful. So the first one, if you hold down Alt or Option on your keyboard and click any one of these curve points, it's going to move all of them simultaneously. Like this. See what that sounds like. So that's a really useful way just to, instead of going through one at a time, which can be quite tedious, so it's a really handy technique just to move them all at the same time. Let's take that back to the shape it was. And the next shortcut is if you hold down Control on your keyboard, click on any one of these breakpoints, and then while you're still clicking in, drag over the other breakpoints. You can see they go in different color. Now if we release, and now I click on any breakpoint and move it, it's going to move the whole shape in this really sort of unique skewed-like way. So let's see what that sounds like. Pretty quick. Maybe we'll take the smooth off. Beautiful. All right, let me know what you think in the comments, guys. I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching. Peace.